They say peace is priceless. I can tell you exactly what it cost me. $1.3 million, and, to this day, the best damn decision I ever made. At least until the morning the sound came. You know how you get used to a certain kind of quiet? Colorado mountain air, the gentle chirp of birds, the low sigh of wind through the pine. That morning, the air vibrated with something else, something that didn't belong. Not the soft rumble of a tractor, not the buzz of a crop duster overhead. No, this was deep, metallic, angry, grinding up the calm. I could feel it in my bones before I ever saw it. My old beagle, Max, knew it, too. He was up, ears perked, a low growl rolling out of him as I set my coffee down on the porch rail and stepped out to see what fresh hell was knocking on my peace. That's when I spotted it. A cement truck, the kind you see building shopping malls, crawling up my private drive like it owned the place. And behind it, a whole parade of construction vehicles, spitting gravel, throwing up clouds of dust, inching closer and closer. My home. The place I'd spent my life savings on to escape this exact kind of chaos. You ever see your sanctuary threatened right before your eyes? I could almost hear the foundation cracking from the weight of that rolling invasion. Rage hit me fast and hard. I didn't even stop for shoes. Out there, barefoot on the sharp gravel, waving my arms, I must have looked half insane, but I stopped that convoy dead in its tracks. The lead driver, a burly guy with a sunburned arm and a shirt that hadn't seen a washing machine in weeks, leans out like I'm the one in the wrong. "This is the access road for Summit Crest, right?" he says, totally unfazed. "This is a private road." I shot back, pointing at the sign they plowed right past. He shrugged, pure indifference, then pulls out a greasy map, jabs a finger at a green line marked temporary construction route, running right through my property. Mrs. Eleanor Craig gave us the go-ahead. She's the HOA president. The names meant nothing to me. I bought this land to not have neighbors, to not have a committee of busybodies telling me how to live. Yet here they were, acting like my home was just an extension of their plan. It dawned on me. This wasn't a mistake. This was on purpose. The driver went for his gear shift. I realized it wasn't just my foundation at stake. It was my freedom, my right to be left alone. And you might think a few angry calls or a sheriff's visit would sort it out. But people like Eleanor Craig don't play by the rules of common sense. They operate in the murky world of bylaws, loopholes, and the sheer audacity of entitlement. 2 days later, no apology, just a thick envelope in the mailbox, gold foil seal, HOA logo screaming, "You're not welcome." The letter was pure condescension. "Dear community contributor," as if. It said they were updating logistics for regional growth, and my road was now deemed publicly significant. Then came the real kicker, a hearing in 30 days to rezone my private drive into a public road. No discussion, just a countdown to legalized theft. I stood there, that heavy letter trembling in my fist, the anger cooling into something heavier. Calculation. I pulled every deed, survey, and legal scrap I had, spread them across my desk, then dialed my attorney, David Hyun. "David, it's Arthur. We've got a problem." I explained. Trucks, letters, threats. David, solid as ever, whistled low and said, "Don't talk to them. Let me handle the filings." Something stinks. But I didn't sit back. For 42 years, I'd made my living solving logistical puzzles, anticipating the next move. Now it was my war room. Coffee table buried under maps, county plats, deed records. I drove the perimeter, camera snapping photos, documenting every tire track, every crack in my driveway, every sneering construction worker. I was building a file, preparing for a siege. Turns out I wasn't the only one gathering intel. It started subtle, animal control at my door after an anonymous complaint about Max. The woman was polite, professional, and left apologetic, but the message was clear. "We can reach you, even here." Next came the fire department, another anonymous tip about my woodpile. Then the walkers, strangers in Summit Crest polos, not trespassing, just pacing the boundary, phones out, sometimes a camera. It was psychological warfare, and for a minute, I'll admit, it rattled me. But then David called. "Arthur, good news and bad news." Don't you hate that phrase? The good news. The county already denied their easement 6 months ago. They've got no legal claim. Everything they've shown you is smoke and mirrors. A win, right? Not so fast. Bad news. Eleanor's cousin sits on the planning board. She's framing a new petition as emergency infrastructure, and she might just have the votes to ram it through. We're in the right, but we could still lose. The dread crept in, but it didn't last. If they could play dirty, so could I. I started scouring every inch of those maps, not just my land, but the whole area, looking for cracks, forgotten easements, anything. Then I saw it. A tiny, ugly sliver called Lot 37B, commercial land, tax delinquent, and the only access point between my road and the main highway. A true choke point. If I owned that, no amount of political games could touch me. The search led to Robert Miller, a retired ad man in Florida. I called, offered $15,000 for a patch of dirt he'd forgotten he owned. He laughed, then told me someone from Summit Crest already called with the same offer. Eleanor had sniffed out the same weakness. I doubled my bid, $30,000, cash, no questions, contract by email within the hour. He took the deal. David hustled the paperwork through. I wired the money. The deed filed before their lawyers could blink. Next morning, my own cement truck rolled onto Lot 37B. By sunrise, a 2-foot-thick, steel-reinforced wall and a 12-foot steel gate blocked the road. Signs screamed, private property. No access. Max and I sat on my truck hood and watched the last bolt get tightened. That gate wasn't just a barrier, it was a declaration. Eleanor rolled up in her BMW, looking like a suburban general ready for battle, and saw that she'd been outflanked. She turned purple with rage. I didn't even wave. The gate said it all. You'd think that'd be the end, but Eleanor didn't come at me head on. She sent a process server, lawsuit, accusations of obstruction, public nuisance, the whole kitchen sink. I smiled. Let's finish this where facts matter. But the real twist came from an unlikely ally, a nervous Summit Crest resident, George Peterson. He handed me a printed email, sent by mistake to the whole HOA. Eleanor, angling for a personal $25,000 consultancy fee if she secured my access road for the development. Proof it was always about her payday, not the community. In court, it was high drama. Eleanor's lawyer spinning tales of shared use and community progress, David laying down fact after fact, ending with the fresh deed for Lot 37B. Their lawyer pulled a fake document, a supposed easement signed by the former owner, only for us to call that owner on video. Never seen that paper in my life, the man said, chuckling. And that's not my signature. The courtroom exploded. The judge slammed down his gavel. Permanent injunction for me, $125,000 in damages, and a criminal referral for fraud. Eleanor collapsed in her seat. A queen toppled. But the best part? The aftermath. The developer pulled out. Roads unfinished. Empty lots baking in the sun. The criminal cloud hovered over Eleanor. At the next HOA meeting, streamed live, thanks to a neighbor with a grudge, residents lined up to roast her, reading the kickback email, the court transcript, airing years of grievances. Unanimous vote of no confidence. Eleanor walked out, her legacy scattered to the wind. Within a month, a for sale sign appeared in her yard. Last I heard, she'd skipped town for Arizona. Summit Crest changed overnight. Lawn gnomes and garden swings reappeared. The whole neighborhood seemed to exhale. My barrier became a local landmark, so I had an art student paint a mural, cartoon cement truck on one side, a plaque reading, "Private road brought to you by bad decisions." Even a local brewery brewed a special, easement-denied ale. It wasn't just victory, it was vindication. 1 year later, I threw a party at the gate, brisket, beer, and neighbors swapping stories about their own HOA wars. The centerpiece? A concrete bust with a severe haircut and pursed lips, name tag reading Karen, and a plaque, "You shall not pass without prior written consent." Folks laughed, snapped pictures, even pretended to be scolded by the statue. I watched the sun set, AC/DC's Highway to Hell, blasting, beer in one hand, plate in the other, Max asleep at my feet. Sometimes revenge isn't about breaking things down, it's about building something stronger on top. A gate they can't break, a party no one forgets, a lesson in standing your ground. So what do you think? Was I right to fight? Or should I have just rolled over for the so-called greater good? Let me know what you'd have done in my boots. And hey, if you ever need a brisket recipe or a tip on dealing with bullies in nice suits, you know where to find me. Drop your thoughts below. Justice, community, or just plain stubbornness? Whose side are you on?